All right. Welcome, everyone, to our webinar on hiring and retaining the next generation of engineers. Today, we'll focus on strategies that are tailored to the unique characteristics and preferences of Gen Z engineers. And this is an important topic to discuss because Gen Z is poised to reshape the workforce and workplace expectations. So understanding how to attract and retain and manage this talent is critical for your organization's success moving forward. Let's take a look at our agenda for today. We have a lot to cover to ensure you leave with a comprehensive understanding of hiring and retaining Gen Z engineers. So in the first part, we'll describe some of the trends shaping the future of the work, not just the introduction of Gen Z to the workforce, but broader trends that are really having an impact on how work is done and how work is structured and what the employee experience is at work. Then we'll share some of what we know about Gen Z engineers, their unique characteristics and their values. After that, we'll dive into some recruitment strategies that tend to resonate well with Gen Z. And then we'll explore effective management practices and how to personalize professional development to meet the ambitions and preferences of Gen Z engineers. A couple of quick housekeeping notes before we get rolling. This session is going to be recorded, and we will send the recording out to registrants after the event. So if you missed something or want to go back to something, you'll have that recording. And then toward the end, we're going to have a Q&A session to address any questions you may have. But feel free to jot down your questions as we go along. You can submit them in the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. And we will address those either throughout or at the end. Want to quickly introduce ourselves. My name is Taylor Sullivan. I am Codility's Senior Director of Product Insights, as well as a Principal IO Psychologist here. My passion lies in bridging psychology, technology, and business to drive positive impact in talent selection and development. So part of this is understanding how people and their work interact and what conditions help organizations and the people within them thrive. So I'm really excited to present on this topic today, and am viewing myself as an agent of trying to help Gen Z have a healthy introduction into the workforce and help managers and leaders shape the workplace to embrace and welcome them and be able to take advantage of the talent that they bring. I'm excited to be joined today by my good friend and colleague, Julian, who is a very talented engineering manager. So Julian, would you like to briefly introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you very much. And also warm welcome from my side to everyone. Thanks for joining us here today in this session. My name is Julian. I'm an engineering manager for Codility as part of the product trios that we form within Codility to manage our products. So I'm on the engineering manager side of that trio for our products Codelife and Codevent within Codility. I'm with Codility for over a year now, I think, one and another 3 months, so almost 1.5 years with Codility. And beforehand, I was also in various engineering leadership roles, also engineering roles and tech leadership roles. And my passion is towards enabling as much users as possible for the products that we're serving within our organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let's dive into the first section of our webinar, and don't forget to throw those questions into the Q&A section. This first section focuses on trends that are shaping the future of work. These macro trends have very deep and broad influence on how work is conducted, how it's structured, and what's required of workers to effectively navigate their professional lives. There are many of these trends, but we selected a few that are particularly relevant to talent development, talent management, and selection. So we have 8 here, and it's helpful to consider these throughout our presentation as a lens into the future, as some of these trends are not going to only impact Gen Z, but the workforce as a whole. So first off, we have the proliferation of technology. The digital revolution is in full swing, from AI and machine learning to virtual reality and more. These technologies are truly reshaping work as we know it. And they're also demanding new skills for individuals and organizations to stay competitive. The swift rise of ChatGPT is a great example of how this trend is manifesting and so rapidly. Second, there has been a rise in skill-based talent practices. Traditional hiring and talent management practices are evolving to focus less on things like degrees and schooling and more on the actual demonstrable skills that someone brings to the table and how those skills relate to the specific requirements of the role they're expected to fill. Next is increased personalization. This is shaped by 21st century consumerism. It's giving rise to growing customer centricity and personalization of content. When you log into a social media platform, content is served to you that's tailored to you based on your behavior and preferences that you've shown historically in those platforms. We're also seeing a rise in the gig economy. So the nature of employment is changing, and the gig economy provides a lot of flexibility, but also some challenges in terms of job security and benefits and the structure of programs like that. The importance of lifelong learning is on the rise as well. The rapid pace of change means that each of us will likely need to retrain and reinvent ourselves multiple times throughout our careers to remain relevant. And so this requires a steady pace of reskilling, upskilling via continuous learning. We're seeing a reemergence of apprenticeships. This hands-on experiential learning will be one of the most critical ways to help employees master new and highly complex skills and technologies. Apprenticeships and similar programs are becoming more common. We're also seeing an increase in corporate and social responsibility. Various political and societal flashpoints are forcing companies to take a stand and adapt. It's not just about profit anymore, it's about being socially responsible. And this is particularly relevant when thinking about Gen Z, and we'll touch on that here in a bit. And lastly, the democratization of content. Accessible, collaborative learning, and often open source is becoming more common, allowing employees to learn from each other and share knowledge seamlessly and broadly. So what is clear is that adaptability and a commitment to learning are going to be key to navigating the future of work. Embracing new technologies, talent practices, and societal responsibilities are going to be critical for organizations to really thrive in this future. Now I'd like to share some research findings on what sets Gen Z and Gen Z engineers apart. Gen Zers are born roughly between the mid-90s and the early 2000s, meaning they're in their teens to early 20s, and they're the youngest and most recent generation to enter the workforce. Before I get into the characteristics describing that have been used to describe Gen Z, I want to make an important caveat that there's always individual variation within any generation. It's impossible to characterize every member of a single generation. And Gen Z is a diverse group. So not all members will exhibit these characteristics to the same extent. And in addition, the oldest members of Gen Z are still in their 20s. So their identities are still forming and stabilizing. So we can expect to see more fluidity in their values and preferences when compared with older generations. Understanding these general trends, though, can certainly be helpful, but it is important to avoid overextending descriptions and to stereotype Gen Z. That said, let's dive into some of the research findings. Perhaps one of the most defining features of Gen Z is that they're digital natives. They're the first generation to grow up in a world where digital technology, particularly the internet, smartphones, and social media, has always been readily accessible. Unlike millennials who remember the dawn of the internet and the rise in social media, it's always been in existence for Gen Zers. As a byproduct, they're very comfortable with using digital tools for communication, learning, and entertainment. Gen Z engineers are typically highly tech savvy and often quick to adapt new engineering tools, software, and emerging technologies. In addition, they are often proficient in multiple programming languages, and they're quick to pick up new ones. Many Gen Z engineers have been coding from a very young age and have a strong foundation in software development and computational thinking. These concepts and strategies are often taught in K through 12 or kindergarten through 12th grade. And so they're being exposed to these concepts much earlier than prior generations. Next up, many Gen Z engineers have an entrepreneurial mindset. They're more likely to consider launching startups or building their own apps or software products and pursuing independent projects alongside their day-to-day work. So this ties into that notion of the gig economy. They're often likely to have a few gigs in addition to whatever job they're doing. And they're also known for offering really innovative solutions to engineering challenges. They're also hungry to learn. Interestingly, in a recent survey by Deloitte, only half of Gen Z respondents felt they've been trained well enough to be successful when they enter the workforce. And to complement that, nearly 60% of bosses said the same. So this indicates there's a gap, and this gap could create an interesting opportunity for companies to develop unique programs tailored for Gen Z, some of whom started their very first jobs in a virtual environment during a pandemic. Next up, many Gen Z software engineers are enthusiastic supporters of open source software, and they are active contributors to open source projects. They appreciate the collaborative nature of open source and seek opportunities to contribute to the global developer community. Gen Z engineers are adept at digital collaboration tools and virtual teamwork. They've been doing it in school, and they've been doing it at university, and in the early part of their careers as they enter the workforce during the pandemic. They're typically comfortable working in distributed teams and using technology to communicate and collaborate. Co-creation processes such as teaming, swarming, and pairing are likely to be particularly appealing to Gen Z, given their interest in teamwork and collaboration. Now, at the same time, Gen Z also values individuality. They tend to have unique personal brands, and they're comfortable expressing their individual perspectives and identities. Gen Z also tends to have short attention spans. Coming of age with social media, Gen Zers are accustomed to an endless stream of targeted user-generated content, and that expectation for a seamless, hyper-customized experience seems to extend to brand and employer interactions. This also means that Gen Z has or prefers bite-sized, visually engaging content. However, to facilitate this preference, they're often highly skilled at quickly processing information. So not only do they prefer content served in this way, but they're very adept at consuming and processing content like this. Next up, having witnessed the financial challenges faced by millennials and Gen Z, or millennials during the Great Recession, Gen Z tends to be more financially cautious and pragmatic. They value financial security and tend to be savers versus spenders. They also tend to be quite mindful of cost of living, which is another reason why remote work appeals to them. And then lastly, according to research by Deloitte, Gen Z is one of the most socially conscious and politically engaged generations. Gen Z is least influenced by actions that companies have historically used to build trust among candidates and employees. Gen Z tends to develop trust based on whether a company has an authentically positive impact on humanity, such as strong DEI initiatives or sustainability efforts. They're socially conscious and concerned about issues such as climate change, social justice, and equality. And they also tend to be politically engaged and vocal about their beliefs when compared to previous generations when they were in their 20s. They're more likely to participate in activism, advocate for social change, and use their voices for political causes. However, this could also be due to the fact that Gen Z has grown up in a more highly politicized culture. And according to research by Ipsos, this is supported by the fact that almost all generations have shown an increase in political engagement. So it's not necessarily specific to Gen Z. However, when compared with older generations, Gen Z does tend to be more progressive with significantly more liberal values. But again, this is often the case typically for younger generations. So this likely is also not specific to Gen Z. All right, so let's talk about how we might adapt our workforce and our culture to meet Gen Z's expectations and preferences. Deloitte's research shows that Gen Zers place less value on work as part of their personal identities than do previous generations. In their survey research, less than half of Gen Z viewed work as an important part of their identity. So how does this manifest in their preferences and needs? Well, Gen Z highly values work-life balance and flexible work arrangements. They seek a real harmony between their professional and personal lives, and they prioritize their well-being and mental health. So to address this, it's important to consider offering benefits like flexible scheduling, paid time off, and initiatives that promote mental health and work-life balance. And given their concerns over topics such as environmental sustainability, cost of living, and work-life balance, it's no surprise that Gen Z favors flexible work arrangements. That could be flex time, flex place, remote, hybrid. Gen Z is comfortable with technology and prefer these options. With the right tools and processes in place, you can really accommodate this preference while still ensuring productivity, creativity, and collaboration. All right, so let's jump into a few of the recruitment strategies or considerations that are likely to resonate with Gen Z. To start, though, I want to highlight a couple of challenges. First, Gen Z communicates differently than prior generations. They prefer text and digital messaging over phone calls or emails. To engage with them effectively, it's going to be important to integrate modern communication tools such as social media, chatbots, video interviews into your recruitment strategy. Again, they like video-based, bite-sized content that's highly personalized. And second, the war for talent is fiercer than ever. Companies are all competing for the same pool of skilled Gen Z engineers. So to attract the best, you're going to need to showcase what makes your company unique, your culture, and the opportunities that you offer for growth. In addition, the application and selection process should be easy. Research by Deloitte showed that Gen Zers tend to believe that most online tasks should be convenient and easy to accomplish. So recruiters might work to meet this demand by offering things like one-click job applications or offering a highly personalized job recommendation system where a user could feed in their resume and they are served up personalized recommendations for roles that they might apply to. So one thing we know is that technology will play a central role in recruitment strategies targeting Gen Z. We've already seen a sharp increase in AI-powered recruitment tools, which can be a real game changer. AI can sift through a large number of resumes, match candidates to job requirements, and even predict if a candidate is going to fit within your company's culture. So while these tools undoubtedly save time and resources, it is important to be aware of the evolving legal landscape around these tools and ensure that their use isn't introducing bias or discrimination. A few months ago, Codility hosted a webinar on this, so if you're interested in learning more, feel free to check that out. Another strategy that can be particularly effective with Gen Z is to leverage realistic job previews. Realistic job previews have been around for a long time, but essentially they give candidates a candid glimpse into what the job would be like, both the benefits and the potential drawbacks. So embedding an RJP into an interview process is a great way to evaluate job relevant skills and preferences and how they're going to react to actually being in the role. Taking this up a level, Virtual reality interviews and simulations are emerging as an innovative and tech-forward way to help candidates preview a job. This area is evolving really rapidly and is definitely worth keeping an eye on, as this could offer a really engaging and high-fidelity candidate experience. As noted before, personal and employer brands are something Gen Z pays a lot of attention to, so building a strong employer brand is essential for attracting and recruiting Gen Z. In general, Gen Z seeks meaningful work. They want to know the company they work for aligns with their values. So it's important to make sure that your company's mission and values are clearly communicated in your recruitment materials, that employees can talk about the values and how they're enacted in the job and what the values mean to them. And at the same time, also showing how your work makes a positive impact on society or the environment, or these broader causes that are very near and dear to Gen Z's heart. Let's take sustainability for an example. So during a recruitment process, you might showcase how your company provides employee subsidies for making sustainable choices, or initiatives to reduce single-use plastic products, or renovations that you made to make the office greener. These types of details and clear examples of actions the company has taken to authentically support these broader causes are going to appeal to Gen Z. And then it's no surprise, but Gen Z is highly active on various social media platforms. And as such, social media is a very powerful tool for building your employer brand among Gen Zers. Gen Z uses social media platforms as a tool for finding advice, for tutorials, and even finding new products. So sharing about your company's culture, achievements, and featuring some brief and visually engaging employee stories on these platforms are likely to catch their attention and really pull them in. The key is it'll be important to engage with Gen Z candidates in a more personal and interactive way. And as a result, that will humanize your brand and be more attractive to Gen Z. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Julian now. He is, as I noted before, one of Codility's most effective engineering managers. So I was really pleased when he agreed to facilitate this webinar with me, because his teams are all singing his praises about his management practices. So turning it over to Julian.
Thanks, Taylor, for the upfront honors. The first part that I want to talk you through is effective management practices tailored towards Gen Z engineers. And the first aspect here is how to empower Gen Z engineers. Next slide, please. So Gen Z values autonomy and the chance also to take ownership of their work highly. Yeah, they often perform best when giving the freedom to make decisions, and also how to be creative within their roles when they're stepping into their careers. So often we consider allowing them to lead projects within their scope and also within their capabilities and skills, and give them those independent initiatives in order to create this empowerment. But in order to do so, a few conditions need to be set to help to create this environment that actually allows this empowerment. A crucial aspect here is trust. So there are a lot of different perspectives and opinions that might be different, and we need to be open about them in order to allow those voices. Another one is a healthy failure culture, which is essential to create an environment where team members feel safe and also taking calculated risks in those projects that we define for them. And surely clearly expectations and open communication around this feedback. Another crucial aspect are lightweight processes that feel understood and also accessible and executable by the engineers. And this provides them a tool to basically go through this process in their projects in an easy and approachable way. So usually those processes and procedures are also owned by those engineers, and they're actively improving them and iterating over them, which helps in the in this aspect. The second thing to look at is feedback and recognition. So regular feedback and recognition are vital for Gen Z's motivations. This ensures there are opportunities for check-ins and also constructed feedback sessions. We should recognize and celebrate the achievements, which is one crucial part in this aspect. This can go a long way in keeping them engaged and motivated. There are different ways how to achieve this, and I assume all of us have tools to do so. So just in a company context, we can embrace and also give this feedback openly. There are a bit more structured verbal feedback that should be given in personal talks. So for example, in one-on-one meetings, in personal chats, but there's also recognition and feedback that is on the team level and not just between different levels, also between the different engineers. And also Gen Z seems to be very active and also in this communication quite substantial to pick this up. If there are like, how to say, if there are enlightened with this, so if they get this fire, so they need some input, but then usually they're also very active and pursuing in those practices. The next aspect to look at is fostering collaboration. So teamwork and also cross-functional projects are essential to Gen Z. So encourage teamwork and foster forming cross-functional teams for projects. This comes quite handy because usually in product development, we're trying to set up teams from different with different skill sets, also mixed from the not just the engineering side, right? We're trying to mix engineers from different levels within teams, but also make them complete with other expertise like design as well as the needed management, but also other disciplines like go-to-market or other departments. So this helps not only bring diverse perspectives to the table, but also provides Gen Z with the opportunity to work with colleagues from different departments, and they often appreciate that fact. On the other hand, there's inclusive decision-making. So Gen Z values having a say in decisions. Involving them in the decision-making process when feasible is definitely something to look at. But it needs to be within their competencies and also their skills. Their opinions should be heard and also considered. Inclusive decision-making can foster a sense of belonging and loyalty among Gen Z engineers. Context is key here. So providing a clear understanding of the vision and also the targeted outcomes are like a must, and also allowing exploration and discovery of the options in this process can help foster innovation and keep also flexibility and the Gen Z engineers engaged. So the last bit here to look within this piece is creating an inclusive work environment. So diversity and inclusion is especially drawn in workplaces where diversity is celebrated and inclusion is practiced. So creating an inclusive work environment is crucial, and implementing diversity inclusion initiatives within our organizations is key here. Ensuring all voices are heard and also valued. And usually our organizations come here with more or less clear guidance by describing and also training us on the context of how basically we define our organizational values and also communicate them. On a team level, usually it's not so easy for especially Gen Z engineers to practice this on a day-to-day basis. So one thing that generally helps is to sit down with a team to, under this umbrella of the organizational context, find the team values that are in line with this umbrella, but giving the team a clear representation of what their day-to-day communication should look like. How do they, what they look when they hire new team members within the team. So this can help with all of those aspects, and it's a crucial part here when it comes to creating this environment. The next part is mentorship and coaching. So offering mentorship and coaching programs is for Gen Z engineers often see guidance and opportunities for skill development. Mentorship can help them to navigate their career path within the organization, which can significantly contribute also to retention. Only thing here to look at as well is that mentorship is not easy, right? We know this. Mentorship takes energy itself. So we need to balance this with the need as well as with the mentorship capabilities that we have in organizations usually. So this brings us to the next bigger topic, which is personalizing professional development. And the first thing to look at here is the understanding of the career ambitions of Gen Z engineers. So Gen Z engineers often have unique career aspirations. It's important to tailor career paths to match their individual goals and ambition. And regular discussions about their career development plans can ensure alignment with their aspirations. So, on the other hand, Gen Z highly values continuous learning and skill development. So providing them with opportunities for training and upskilling, and also demonstrating your commitment to help them to grow in their roles, can significantly enhance their job satisfaction and loyalty. One thing to understand is that the learning, mid as long-term career goals should be understood and also crafted together. And this also needs some trust between manager as well as engineer. On the other hand, so we have flexible learning opportunities. So when it comes to flexible learning opportunities, Gen Z often prefers self-paced learning. So we also need to look at the platforms and at the tool and at the offerings for such trainings that they actually fulfill the needs of Gen Z engineers. So some platforms doing this, so they're also adapting to those specifics. But some trainings and some things that Gen Z engineers need to know are not in this shape. So we need to understand that and then also translate it in order to make it easier and digestible and accessible by those. So offering access to online courses and certifications allows them to acquire new skills on their own terms and support them in gaining knowledge and certifications relevant to their roles is here important. So we should look at are those skills that they're aspiring to learn, and also what is important, are they usable within our organization and how we can utilize them. And we should also look at how they matching to the career aspirations as well as the goals of the specific engineer to bring them forward, because they should also, when they're achieved, they should have an impact on this progression. To basically give the feeling of progressing, of moving within the career, when also adapting those skills and learning. Another piece here is mentoring programs. So sorry, I wanted to follow up on this point. So mentoring programs, as noted before, so mentorship programs offer guidance, but also networking opportunities and a chance for Gen Z engineers to learn from seasoned professionals. Here, it's what I mentioned before. We need to keep the balance within the offering of mentorship, but mentoring programs and also verbalizing and identifying the need for mentorship for Gen Z engineers is very important in order to guide them on a day-to-day basis. Also through things that are above their level, right? In order to create this iteration and learning process, and they should not just move basically in the bubble that they're able to execute. They aspire, so they want to move, and mentorship programs are like one specific tool in order to elevate them in this. Finally, and then as a last piece of this topic, let's talk a bit about boosting and how to boost retention and loyalty among Gen Z engineers. So the first aspect here is continuous learning culture. So fostering a culture of continuous learning within the organization and also encouraging employees, including Gen Z engineers, to seek new challenges and acquire new skills is an important aspect. And creating this environment where growth is promoted can lead to higher job satisfaction and generally loyalty towards the employee. And the second aspect here is career advancement. So Gen Z is more likely to stay with companies that offer clear pathways for career advancement. So we need to ensure there are opportunities for progression within your organization, and that these opportunities are readily and also clear to those engineers. Those should be also discussed regularly and planned in the career progression, and this can help them to keep them engaged and committed to our organization, and having this feeling of here I'm moving on. When I'm looking back, I also kept with organizations for longer when I had a change every 2 years, basically, in moving forward to different path. And this was somewhat flexible, and I felt like I'm also having an active voice in basically moving. And this was here, then I also got options, basically. So I had different pathways, and it felt my own choice. So this in the end provided heavily to the fact to stick with an organization for longer. And with this, I'm closing my thought on that piece. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julian. So this brings us to the end of our prepared content. We can open it up for Q&A or reactions or anything that anyone would like us to share, additional tips or ideas that have been successful as you've navigated the recruitment and hiring and management of Gen Z engineers. We don't have any questions currently, so we'll give it a minute. And if more come in, we will be happy to answer those. All right. Well, in that case, we will go ahead and close this session out. Thank you so much for joining. This is part 1 of 4 in our series on navigating paradigm shifts in technical hiring. So be on the lookout for invitations to the remaining 3 sessions. They're going to cover topics from the impact of AI to how to hire senior candidates in this competitive environment, to how might we navigate hiring freezes or downturns in hiring. So be on the lookout. We'd love to have you back for those sessions. And thank you again for sharing your time, and be on the lookout for the recording. We hope everyone has a great rest of their day.